Happy New Year, friends! Welcome to Knitography. I'm Patricia, and I'm coming to you from my studio in the middle of Norway. It's a winter storm here today. It's blustery and wintry, and the wind is howling, and it was the perfect time for me to just stop and come in and say hello and welcome you into this new year of making. I hope whatever you celebrate, whether it be Eid or Hanukkah or Christmas, that you've had some lovely, quiet, peaceful moments together with your family. We have had a very quiet, cozy time. It's been a bit different this year because just before, in the middle of Advent, I had a frustrating fall and re-injured my back from a previous injury that I actually cracked a rib and injured on a bike accident. So that was very frustrating for me. I'm a very optimistic and resilient person, but that left me flat out and a little discouraged because Emma Grace and I had hoped to participate in a weekly vlog, not every day, but we had hoped to come in and share some of the very cozy traditions from Norway, but we were unable to follow through with that. And so really, I've just been in a quiet recovery mode and struggling to get back on my feet. For someone that has to be active every day, that has been, a challenge. But on New Year's Eve, I was finally down in the pasture, standing on skis again, really slow, but there was a beautiful full moon, and I was able to get down to the Selbushen, the lake, and then yesterday I was able to go up into the forest to a very long, flat, beautiful area of our forest, and I went quite far. I didn't try any ups or downs yet. I've got a little bit of vertigo because of the fall that I'm struggling with, but I'm going to really work on overcoming that and getting myself going 100% again. So I'd hope to get out again today to practice, but we are, as I say, in full storm mode, so I'm going to have to see what the afternoon brings. But I wanted to say Happy New Year, and especially to those of you that have just joined the channel. I have a lot of new people that have joined and are watching the previous historical stories and videos of the Selbuvaltud, and you've contacted me on Instagram or you've joined the channel, and I really just want to welcome you and say Happy New Year. And for those of you that are knitting Selbuvaltud, I am too, so I will be continuing that this year, and I'll talk a little bit about the year of the mitten in one of the segments coming up. But now I have made a pot of tea and thought that I would just try to make a few segments, and maybe I'll pop a few videos up this week. I have a lot to share, of course, after being away for so long. But I've got some really exciting making adventures for the coming year, and some projects that I'm working on, and some yeah, travel that I'm excited about. So some knit-alongs. So there's a lot to share. I also have a very busy season at school. So yeah, always trying to find the balance. And I'm going to talk about how I do that using my knitting bag book. So for those of you that have that are keeping up that regiment of the using your knitting bag book every day, like I have continued to do even into the new year, I want to have a little chat with you about that. So I thought I would just start with the beginning of winter, the first project that I was working on, and try to just move chronologically and share the things I learned about the projects or some tips that I have. But I hope that will be interesting for you. And please do remember that if you are interested in anything that I talk about, or if you want to give feedback, please contact me on Instagram. I do not have a Ravelry group or any other really mode of connection other than Instagram and this channel. And I do prefer Instagram because that's really the only social media outlet that I spend my time on. So for those of you that are not on Instagram, you can pop over and view my profile anyway. And although I don't think you can comment without your own account, you can see in more close detail some of the things that I talk about. And other than that, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for connecting with me. Thank you for supporting my journey and for all the beautiful, encouraging feedback that you share with me. It means a lot to me. And I love celebrating your progress and your learning and your journey as much as I do my own. I'm a teacher at heart, and so teaching and learning and people that are beginning their journey, I try not to forget that. All of the learning that I had to do and an appreciation for those people that helped me. So during the holidays, I had quite a lot of people contacting me for help, and I love to help. So if you're stuck or you're struggling, do always take contact with me. I don't mind telling you what I've learned, so always feel free to contact me and I will do my best to support you. I love teaching, so especially knitting and that journey. So don't hesitate if you're stuck to reach out to me. So this is just an intro, and I will move to my first project. So I hope you'll enjoy hearing about that and will join me through several segments of this series of vlogs that I will share today and through this coming week. So now the boys have decided to take the snow with the snowblower, so I hope that will not be too distracting with noise. But as I say, I want to start with my first early winter project that I did, and that was a pair of mittens for Emma Grace's traditional folk costume, which is called a bunad in Norway. I've been wanting to knit Emma Grace a pair of mittens to go with her bunad. The bunad comes with tights and special shoes, and it's made of a wool skirt and a linen apron and a linen shirt that's done in traditional embroidery, and the vest is also made of a woven linen blend. And there's all the silver that is handmade, But one of the things that on 17th of May, it can snow, it can rain, it can be quite cold, and so often she doesn't have the cape yet, but she will have the cape soon. Often one of the things that she's cold is her hands. So I have been wanting to knit her a pair of bunad mittens for quite some time. And I thought about making my own pattern with the motif that is on the vest. And I've just been looking around for patterns. But a designer, a local Trøndelag, she has a online yarn store. And she's in a region of Trøndelag, as I say, came out with a pattern. It's called the Bergmannens Datter Vottene. So you can find it on Ravelry, and I'm just going to hold it up here for a minute. And there you can see the name of the mitten and the designer, and you can find it on Ravelry. It is in Norwegian, but it is a charted pattern. And she actually uses Jameson and Smith's jumper weight for this mitten. I used Roma Finull, and I used it in the, I think this is really called Kongeblå, which is the King's Blue, but it's Trønderblå, so it's the exact color of the folk costume. And then I use this sort of soft gray color. And she used 3mm needles, which I also used. So the rest of the information in the pattern is just the chart. And if you're interested in these mittens, if you know the basic techniques that you need for a mitten, which I'll talk about a little bit now, this is a most stunning pattern, and I would highly recommend it. You can also find a bit of the information on my Instagram feed if you need to. But here are Emma Grace's folk costume mittens, or her bunad mittens. Now, you see that it's the traditional Selbu shape, and she has this little motif that she's designed and this beautiful cuff, which I think really matches the linen apron. This is the color of the linen apron. And then on the you see here she's got the Trondheim Rose, or at least that's how I'm interpreting it. It is its own history and its own story, but I've taken liberties just to adapt it to the folk costume, the bunad. And so she has this motif, this diamond that she's done in half down on the cuff, and I adore this. I think it's absolutely stunning. In Rome Ull, it's perfect. That is the sticky, rustic, very soft. For me, next to skin soft. This one has been felted down to fit Emma. It's a little snug for me, but it fits her perfectly. And then you see on the palm, it has this, which reminds me of the Norwegian flag, so that was perfect. And then this design on the palm and the thumb. The only modification that I've made is the thumb. Ellen has 3 of these diamonds up here, so the thumb would extend longer, and there is one in the gusset, but I prefer a odd number aesthetically, and the thumb is my thumb is exactly that length, so it's perfect, and also it fits Emma. Now, I do love this raised texture that she has, and this just blocked out beautifully. And as I say, I was a bit vigorous in my blocking because I wanted to felt it down to fit Emma. Another thing that I want to show you is the inside of the mitten. You see, and I catch my floats every 5 stitches. So that makes for a perfect inside. You don't have any problems with it hanging on your fingernails or any of that, any catching, I guess you would say. So this is a beautiful pair of bunad mittens. And now I'm going to tell you a story that I did not share on my Instagram and I did not share anywhere, but I wrap these up, I knit them, I wrap them up, and I put them under the tree. And Emma knew about them, but I just wanted her to have the joy of opening them up. And also, this year I did not buy anything commercially. I did shop online for a couple of items, but they were all knitting related and making related, so I did not purchase anything unless it was from a small business. I was never in a commercial shop this Christmas, so all of my gifts, all of the projects I'm going to be telling you about were handmade, and I did that also last year, but this is always my goal. So I knit these, wrap them, put them under the tree. And then on Christmas Eve here, the 24th, is our Christmas, and we open up presents and we have this beautiful dinner and we play some games and we try to have a laugh, and it's just the most cozy time. And that is really when it's just the 4 of us. So anyway, Emma's opening up her package, and the funny thing that happened on Christmas Eve was that we discovered 2 right mittens. I had no idea. I did not know at all. And we laughed and laughed until we cried. It was hilarious. So what happened was I knit this mitten on the go, and I blocked it. I wanted to make sure the fit was right and everything, and then I put it aside. I usually leave my mittens out in my studio on my little outdoor. I have a little some outdoor furniture and indoor. It's a mixture of things, and I left it here just to encourage and the aesthetic beauty of it until I was going to wrap it. And the other mitten I just cast on the go. I didn't even think about which mitten I had knit, whether it be the right hand mitten or the left hand mitten. I didn't think at all. And in Ellen's pattern, she has the right hand mitten charted and the left hand mitten charted, so there's no problem where that's concerned. But me, I just cast on, knit away, wasn't even thinking, and there you have it. 2 right hand mittens that she opened on Christmas Eve, and I was clueless to that. And even when I was photographing and styling them for Instagram photos, did not even dawn on me. So we laughed and laughed and laughed, and they have really had a lot of fun with me every time they see me knitting mittens now. They keep asking me, am I making 2 right mittens or am I making 2 left mittens? So it's been all just a lot of fun. Now, I could be very discouraged about that, and I have been discouraged in the past because it happens to me. This isn't the first time. So that's one of the things you've got to be really careful, that you either mirror the chart, or that you make sure you move to the left hand or the right hand, whichever one you start on. But actually, Emma was so pleased that I had made this mistake, because as I say, we were going to we were going to put these away in her woolen bunad bag so that she could wear them on the 17th of May. And she really wants to wear these mittens every day. She's quite hard on her mittens. So I told her that these, I really hope she would keep these for her bunad. But now I will be knitting 2 left mittens, and so we will put one of them away, and we will have one that she can wear every day. So I'm going to get those. I wanted to wait and share the story and, you know, let everybody have their fun with it. And then I'm going to cast on those mittens, and I'll get those done pretty soon. I knit her another present, so she's okay for that, but she would like to have these to wear and then have a pair that she can keep for her bunad mittens. So again, I really recommend this pattern, especially if you like this motif. This is the Trondheim Rose, and it matches the Trondheim Rose pin that is so popular. There's lots of handmade jewelry here, earrings and the necklace, and you might have seen my pin that I photographed together with a lot of my Norwegian knits on Instagram. So the cathedral window in Trondheim is what inspired a lot of this tradition. And that cathedral is more than many more than 1,000 years old. So they call it the Rose Window. So yeah, so 2 right mittens for Emma for Christmas, and she will soon have 2 left mittens. These mittens took me just a few days. I knit one of them in just 2 or 3 days, so I'll get those on the needles. I've been busy with other things, but she has been asking me about those. So Roma-ull, I always recommend, and I'm pretty much a gauge knitter. So 3 millimeters on a Roma-ull. I go down. Actually, this pattern was interesting because she did not have 2 needle sizes. But I usually go down for the cuff, like to 2.5 or so, and 2.5 millimeter, and then with Roma-ull, and then I knit the body in the 3 millimeters. And Ellen didn't have you do that. We just stuck with 3 millimeters all the way out, and it's okay. For Emma, the cuff is a bit loose, but I felted it down for her, and it's fitting a lot better. So that was my first, I would say, early winter project for Emma Grace. So now I have freshened up my teacup, and I've gathered together the yarns and the pattern for the next project that I cast on. So after Emma Grace's mittens, I also wanted to knit her the underwing mitts. And I know there's many people that have been knitting these recently, but Emma has asked me for these mittens for a very long time, so they've been on her Christmas list. And I just want to start out by showing you the pattern. This is on Ravelry. And they are the underwing mitts by Erica Hauser. And I mean, all you have to do is search on Ravelry for underwing mitts, and if you're not familiar with the pattern, and you will find it there. It's a very popular mitt pattern, and as a matter of fact, I've knit several of Erica's projects, of which I'm going to talk about here, and I've cast on a new project of hers. So all of that to come. But I chose Roma lamb's wool for this project. So this is also a Roma, one of their yarns, and it is the lamb's wool. Same quality as Roma, same sticky, woolly, next to skin soft for me. But there is a lamb's wool quality about this Roma that I absolutely love. You can tell that with the Roma, this is the regular wool. You can feel that, and you can also feel the same quality in the lamb's wool. But there is something a little bit softer with the lamb's wool, and I chose the this color, of course, for the background color, I guess you'd say, and I chose this sort of soft brown. This has a brown undertone for the contrasting color, and then for the embellishment, I chose this color. Now, in order for me to use lamb's wool and to get the gauge of the pattern for a good fit and everything, and these mitts fit Emma very well. They also fit me. They're a little bit snugger on my hand because I have very short hands, a little bit wider. Emma's really tall and has long, thin hands. But this one is fine for me as well. But for me, I would probably go up maybe not a half needle size, but just a step up, probably to what Erica recommends. But in order to get a gauge to fit Emma, I used a 2mm needle throughout. So I used a 2mm needle, and then I'm getting exactly gauged to the pattern. But for me, I would probably want him to be a little bit roomier, and I'd go up to a 2.25. But anyway, this is an absolutely beautiful pattern. You knit the pattern without the embellishment, and then you go over with, and I'm sorry that I'm not sure if I know the technique in English, but you're going to embroider, there's a name for it, you're going to embroider over the underwing of the moth. And so this is what the palm looks like, and it has the phases of the moon, and she loves these. And of course, teenagers, this allows her to use her phone, and even in school, because she has quite cold hands, Emma Grace. And it was the same with the underwing mitt. On the inside, I catch all my floats every 5 stitches, so there's no problem with that. This is a wonderfully quick, very quick knit. The chart, it's all charted and lovely, and what's interesting about these is I have not blocked them. They fit Emma so well, and she wanted them right away. So I said, no, I'm going to, and I really want to block them. And then I debated back and forth because the fit was so well, and there's no problem with the stitches or anything. So in the end, I just decided not to block them, and I'll block them when they need washing for the first time. And I wrapped those up, and I put those under the tree. So 2mm needles, Roma lamb's wool, which I highly recommend. Any of the lines of Roma. I'm going to talk much more about the Roma ulls as we go along through this sharing, because that's really the yarn that I often choose for all of my mitten or mitts knits, and even some socks that I'm going to share. So the next project I got up to during the early winter was in celebration of my 20th wedding anniversary. And for those of you that have the Selbu book, on page 18 of the Selbu book, you will see the story of the wedding tradition. And you might remember when I visited the Selbu Museum that my very favorite room in the museum was the bridal loft. Now, when I came to Norway, I was not a knitter. I did not know the bridal history or any of that. And so, yeah, just a romantic whimsy idea. I wanted to knit a pair of mittens in celebration of my 20th wedding anniversary. So I did just that, and in my next vlog, I'm going to tell the wedding story again. But what I wanted to do was just to allow everybody that wanted to get out their Selbewalter book, turn to page 18, and then also I'd like you to turn to page where they show the wedding trunk and part of the loft. Yes, that is on page 33. On page 33, the bottom two photos, these two photos, shows you a recreation of the wedding loft. And when you walk into this room, which is my absolute favorite room in the Selbewalter Museum, you will see an installation in English, an installation of what it would have sort of been like in the wedding loft. And I want to tell you that wedding story and a little bit about what the wedding loft would look like. But today, I'm just going to show you a little bit of my mittens, but I want to talk to you about how I did participate in the wedding story when I was married. So on Instagram, I showed the little church that Nils and I were married in and blessed in, because we actually had a ceremony in this church 10 years on, because his mom does not travel on planes and everything. So we had sort of a blessing in this church on our 10th anniversary. So you can see that church on my Instagram feed, and that church is situated on the fjord of Trondheim. So it's up on the fjord is out, it's overlooking the fjord, and it sits on a little hill in the region of Trøndelag, where my husband grew up and had his cabin, and they took the cabin away and they built their home. And so anyway, there's this little church, and what's really interesting about this church is it's, hundreds of years old, hundreds and hundreds of years old. I'm scared to say if it's 1,000 years old, but it's very old, and it's an absolutely stunning church, and it's famous because there is an author in Trondheim who's written this Berlinerpoplene, and I do not know the name of it in English, but anyway, she's famous Trøndelag author, which is an author from this region, and those books were made into a series, I would say, not a movie, but there are different a series, kind of like the Shetland series on BBC. And this church is in the series. So it's kind of famous. It's very old and beautiful, and it has all of these beautiful murals, and the altar is hand carved, the pulpit is hand carved, all of the benches are hand carved, and it was a most beautiful day. We had a mini orchestra with trumpet and cello and violin, and the folk violin, or fiddle playing that day, and Emma Grace played her fiddle, and on the blessing day. So this was on the 10th anniversary. But anyway, I chose a whimsical pattern because I knit a lot of Selbewalter, and I've always wanted to knit this whimsical wedding pattern. And I'll tell you all about the pattern and the yarn and everything in my next vlog. But I just wanted to show you this little whimsical wedding mitten. And you've got the farmer's wife and the farmer, and this beautiful cuff with the heart. And then I did I want to say interlock, although I'm not sure about that technique, but I think that's what it is. Technique here with the, the design, the Latvian braid, and then the little braided lace on the side, and on the back of it, I haven't blocked these, so you're going to see an evenness in my in the mitten, but on the back of it, you've got this lovely little saying that says "Live well," and it's just a saying, "Live well together." And then on the other mitten, again, this one isn't blocked, so you can see the unevenness of my knitting. But on the other one, I have my initial, Nils's initial, and then the year 2007, just to mark the 20 years. And although these are the man size, or the largest size, I wanted them to be quite large. And although Nils would not wear these, and yeah, maybe I would on a special occasion, but these were knit for the men. So I'm going to tell you that story and tell you about the yarn and everything, but I wanted to preface what I would talk about today in my vlog just by showing you the mittens. And I'll tell you the pattern and the yarn that I used and everything in the next vlog. But so I knit these really just for decoration. I thought we were married on December the 16th. We actually met on December the 16th in London in Covent Garden at a music festival. In the street there we met, and so we met in the holiday time, and yeah, 20 years ago, and we wanted to be married on that day, so we were married on December the 16th. And music is very important to both of us, has been. So our celebration was really centered around music. And we had, even though that we were blessed and all of that, music was the focus. So it was almost like a concert on the day we were married. And with not a lot, I mean, the church in Norway, there's not all of this bridal things going on that you find in America, but we did have the Advent calendars, Advent candles that we lit because we were married on the third Sunday in Advent, so we had 3 candles, and I had my wedding flowers, and maybe I don't have any digital pictures from that day so long ago, but maybe I could stick in a photo of my flowers and all of that. We'll see. So anyway, I just wanted to preface, but I really wanted to just show you my wedding dress that I drew out and traveled to Oslo to have sewn. I wanted to show you that in today's vlog. It's a bit easier for me to show that on a Sunday rather than the sharing that I'll do in the vlogs this week. So I'm going to get set up to show you my wedding dress and how I drew it and how I took it to Oslo to have it sewn. So the lighting is rather yellow and terrible at this moment in my studio. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead with it and share with you 2 things that I designed in collaboration with a jeweler and also with a seamstress that lived in Oslo. And she specializes in costumes and folk costumes and also special wedding attire. So what I did long before I met her, I drew out what I wanted, what I thought flattered myself and my body. I'm a short person, and so I wanted to sort of feature highlight some of the things that are, good about me being a short person, and I drew this dress out on paper. And I just started interviewing and contacting people that would work with me. And the other thing I did was I wanted all of my invitations and everything to be a motif that I drew. And I wanted to make jewelry not only for myself but also for Nils. So I took this as a graphic that I found, and then I kind of drew this out for a person in also in Trøndelag, and to draw out this motif for my invitations, and I had it on my cake and on the candles that we had this motif. So we used it in many areas of the celebration that day. But this is my piece of jewelry. And it's just to represent the woven fabric, the woven fabric of your life and all of that. But I wanted it to represent love and wovenness and all of that. And she did a beautiful job. And my husband's pin that he wore on the day is just a smaller size of this. I actually wore a fake fur cape, which I wasn't very happy with the cape, but it was a winter's day, and I'm hoping maybe I'll share the cape on the vlog, but it was sort of an afterthought, and I wasn't really happy with it, but it was beautiful. We rented a Jaguar car, for the day that picked us up and took us to the church. And so with that and the special car, actually the man that drove the car, he was a family friend. I taught his daughter in first grade. So he did sort of a gift rental for us and picked us up. Snowing. We did have sunshine that day, which was was such a blessing because it was beginning to be the darkest time of winter. We had a very special sunshine. So I wore the cape and I wore my dress. And so this is my dress. And I'm not very knowledgeable about the names of these, but I wanted this sort of very close to the shoulder neckline. And so this really just fits me right here on the shoulder. So it's just right on the edge. So a lot of this area of my body, it's not too low in the bust line, but I wanted my skin here to be showing. And it's very flattering. It's very slimming, and so this area just fits. And I have I wanted a soft cap sleeve, and then if you notice, there is this fabric. I didn't have a veil or anything like that, but I wanted a veil-like fabric. And those of you that sew, I'm really sorry that I don't know I'm not knowledgeable about the names of these fabrics, but I wanted the veil to be around the neckline. And I hope, there you can see it a little bit better. I wanted this to be around the neckline, and then I wanted crystals to be sewn on. I don't even know how to pronounce that. So all of these little crystals are hand sewn in the veil fabric. The other thing that I really wanted was to accentuate my waist. I have a very small waist, and so I drew the bust line in. And I wanted a sort of a piping around the waist to accentuate. I have a rather small waist. And then the skirt is just a full, and I guess you would call it, and it's kind of straight here, but it flows out into maybe an A line. Being a shorter person, I'm fuller in the bust line and in the hips. And this just touches the floor, and in the back sort of drapes out like a train. I didn't want a long train or anything like that, but I wanted the dress to move, the back of it to move like in a train. So the front of it is level to the floor, whereas the back kind of drug on the aisleway down the carpet. It's very simple, this, but I really wanted to accentuate my bust line and my waist. And then if you turn it around, you have the same openness on the back. I wanted this bit to be open, and then the veil fabric coming in, and then this to be just hanging like the veil in the back. So the veil is really attached to the dress. You see the waistline comes in. There's a zipper, an invisible zipper here with a little clasp, and the veil fabric here, and then the smaller waist here. So yeah, so that's really my wedding gown. And I brought it up to the studio. I'm really glad I did, because it's been in a bag in my closet, and I do take it out on my anniversary because I just love to look at it. But because I was going to share it for the first time, I've had it up here, and I've had a lot of joy just having it out and looking at it and not keeping it put away all the time. Usually try it on my anniversary, and I did especially this year. I'm just happy to have it out and look at it, and to know that I sort of followed the old days tradition where the festive bridal wear was hand sewn. So when I took this to the seamstress, we worked every day, even that I was in Trondheim and she was in Oslo. We just worked every day on this project together, and she really brought my drawing to life. I flew to Oslo 3 times, once in the beginning to have the consultation, once for a fitting, and then once for a final fitting before the blessing in the church in Bynese, which is a part of Trøndelag. So that is my wedding gown, and that is, although I couldn't really participate in the mitten tradition at the time because I was not a knitter, I could participate in the handmade part of the tradition. So that's pretty much the story of my anniversary and my wedding mittens. I guess I'll just go ahead and, so I don't forget, and tell you that I did, of course, use Rømeull for these mittens, and I used the DK weight, which is the tre I used for these mittens because I wanted them to be decorative, and it turned out that these were sort of the man size, but really I just want to put these out. I'm going to block them so that my stranded knitting is all smoothed out and everything is fine, because they still need to be blocked. But I mostly just had them out around our anniversary dinner and all of those things. Just nostalgia, just a romantic gesture that I did. And I did not mess up the thumbs on these mittens. But if you go on Ravelry, you will find this pattern just by even Pinterest. You will see them. If you put in Norwegian wedding mittens, you will find this pattern. I'm going to look it up for you. I thought about sharing it next time, but it's just Røme 3-ply DK weight, and I'll show you the original pattern. And I also know that it is in a mitten book by this same lady. So here's the pattern. let me get down to the title so that you can see that. And they're called Wedding Mittens. And the designer's name is Jorid Lindvik. Jorid Lindvik. And I'm going to hold this up so that you can find them. And the name of the designer if you want it, and her website. But I know that she has put out a new book that I learned from Rachel of Treehouse Knits, that it has been translated into English, which I did not know. And it is sort of a commercial, it is sort of a commercially published book here with lots of whimsical patterns. It's called The Big Book of Mittens, and it is by Jorid Lindvik. And you can see this book looks like this. I just found it on Amazon. And it is in Norwegian here as well, if you're local in Norway. Now, these are not traditional shapes, but with lots of whimsical patterns on them. And like I said, this is not the mitten that the brides would have knit in Selbu in the old days. I'll show you some of those in the next vlog when I tell the mitten story, the wedding mitten story again. But I want to talk a little bit about that story in the next vlog and show you some examples of the proper ones. But I just wanted to knit this whimsical mitten in celebration. And in the Selbuvalter book is the history. There's a couple of photos of the bridal loft and lots of examples of the mittens that the women would have knit the person they're engaged to. So I'm going to end this vlog today and come back tomorrow after school, and I will tell some other projects that I've been working on. I'm going to try to get caught up in this week. I'm feeling better, and it's although it's a busy week at school, I want to get caught up with my vlogs because some exciting things are happening, and I want to get caught up to where I am with my knitting and my new making journey. And I want to get caught up with that. So I've set myself a little goal. I want to talk about the knitting bag book tomorrow. I've set myself a little goal to get all of this up and then be on track for the new year. The final thing that I wanted to say was what's really exciting for me about the bridal mittens and the whole story from Selbu is my studio is actually in the loft. This is a loft of the barn, and it would have been where the hay was stored. So if you've seen on my Instagram, we built this slope like many hay lofts have, and it would have been in this room where the mitten display before the wedding would have been housed, and all the mittens would have been hung up all around the walls, and all of the visitors would have come in to see the display before the wedding, and they were proudly displayed, and it was part of the ceremony of getting married in Selbu in the old days. So I always have kind of a thrill to know that this loft also is connected to my love of Selbuvalter. So I'm going to end this vlog now on Sunday and get it uploaded, and just again wish you a beautiful beginning to 2018 and your making. This will be the year of the mitten for me, bringing some exciting things alive on my little farm, and I'm going to tell you all about that during this week. So if you are a subscriber to this channel, You will get a notification as I upload the videos. If you're not a subscriber and you want to have a notification, please do that. I do not have my subscriptions public or comments public or anything, because for me it's just about connection. And but I do want to welcome you if you're new, if you're interested in knitting mittens or the history of Norway or Norwegian nature. I welcome you, and please contact me on Instagram. You can find me there. So for today, I will say goodbye. Have a beautiful beginning to this new week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.